Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for participating and being here with us. You could have been anywhere in your house, but you're here with us. So I want to
hello. I love you. Like, you could be anywhere. You could be in the living room. You could be.
But you're here with us.
There's so many other Zooms you could be on. So many other Zooms.
Yes, my name is Tatiana Lee. I am Hollywood Inclusionist for Respectability. Respectability, we are a nonprofit organization that advocates so that people with disabilities can participate in all aspects of society. I have the pleasure of working as our Hollywood Inclusionist, which means I get to work on all fun things Hollywood inclusion. And that includes creating fun things for our community to participate in, which this is the start of a series of awesome events we're going to be doing. Please sign up. Yes, if you're not seeing an ASL interpreter, there is a button that says closed caption. Click on that so that you can make sure that you can see the closed caption. And then we also have an ASL interpreter. So make sure you are able to view all those things. So yeah. That's just the captions. Okay. Okay. So with that, we are going to be doing a series of events and things that you can participate in. We're starting out with this very, very fun one that I'm super excited to have. Ryan, thank you so much for joining us. I have a couple other house cleaning things. We last year hosted our Respectability Summer Lab. That was for entertainment professionals with disabilities. We had a great turnout last year. We are now taking submissions. So if you want to participate, and we're taking it virtual. So last year you had to live in LA to participate. You don't now, you can be in anywhere and join us via virtually. We're going to be able to have opportunities for you to network with so many industry executives and so many people in the industry. So make sure you sign up, and our deadline is Friday. And if you don't have your sign-up material or things that you need, whether a writing sample or an illustration that you're working on, then just send us a note, myself or Lauren, and let us know. And we'll still, let you send your submissions later on, but let us know that you want to apply. You have until Friday to do that. So I'm going to introduce our guests. We're starting this series of Zoom calls that we're going to have. So make sure you sign up and check in to see when we will be having those. They're all on our website at respectability.org. And this is Ryan O'Connell. He is a writer, producer, and actor. And according to GLAAD 2019-2020, we are on TV report, while 2019 and 2020 television season included 27 characters with disability versus 18 in 2018 and 2019. That number still vastly underrepresents actual numbers of people with disabilities, representing less than 1/6. Furthermore, while more than 1/3 of LGBTQ+ adults have a disability, GLAAD's report found that there are too few LGBTQ characters with disabilities. Ryan O'Connell is helping to change that. His Emmy-nominated Netflix series Special premiered 1 year ago, actually a couple days ago. And it broke new ground for representation of LGBTQ people and people with disabilities. Netflix has renewed this comedy series for a second season, and season 1 is available on Netflix. So if you're bored and you just need something to watch, something good, check out Special if you haven't already. I binge watched it all the way through. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. So Ryan, thank you so much again for joining us. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm good. Every day is a winding road by Sheryl Crow. Yesterday I was like depressed for no reason. Well, not for no reason, obviously, like society and the world, blah, blah, blah. And then today I was just like plucky and full of life again. So you never know how it's gonna go. You never know.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you're plucky and full of life for our audience. We have so many people I've got so many emails and calls and text messages of people saying how excited they were for this conversation. So we're going to get right into it.
Awesome.
And then at the end, we're going to be have an opportunity for question and answer. So there's a question and answer button if you want to ask questions. And yeah, and if you're having any other issues, hopefully you're hitting the closed caption button so you can get the captioning. And yeah, thank you all so much for joining us. So my first question is, you started out with writing your memoirs, I'm Special, and Other Lies We Tell Ourselves. What inspired you to tell your story in that memoirs, and why did you feel your story was important to tell?
Well, I didn't initially. I mean, so I sold the book actually before any mention of cerebral palsy. Like, my publisher did not know that I had cerebral palsy. I basically pitched this book about 20 something. It was just like an Urban Outfitters like toilet book. Do you know what I mean? Like something you keep in the bathroom and you're like, oh, this is fun. There's pictures, there's graphs. You know, like I love a pie chart. And so I sold that book. And at the time I was closeted about my disability. What happens with Ryan, the character in Special, is something that I actually did, which is I got hit by a car, although in real life it was much more serious, and I actually acquired another disability on top of the one I already have, because just one wasn't enough. I got compartment syndrome. So I moved to New York to go to school, and everyone assumed my limp was from my car accident, and I never corrected them because I just thought, oh, being hit by a car is so much more, like, it's so much more relatable. Like, no one has really understood cerebral palsy. Like, when I've had to explain it in the past, people just get confused. Everyone can understand getting hit by a car. It could happen to them, blah, 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 blah. I mean, I didn't know I was also suffering from, like, deep, dark internalized ableism, but at the time I thought I was performing this amazing life hack when really I was just hacking up my life to bits. So basically, so smash cut to me getting the book deal. I've been closeted about my disability for many years, and like deep in the recesses of my brain / heart, I knew that this lie was not doing me any more favors. I was like doing drugs at the time and like pretty Les Miserables, and I kind of had this like rare moment of clarity at like 26 where I was like, if I don't, this is my opportunity to be honest about my disability, to come out about who I really am, and there's nothing like a book contract to really motivate you to not to not lose courage and actually deliver. So I went to Simon & Schuster. I told them that it was actually really funny. He's like, my editor was like, at our kickoff meeting, was like, I have a really good title for your book. It's called I'm Special. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting, because I actually am coming to you to talk about how I have cerebral palsy, and I want to include that in the book. So there's double meaning to that term. And so they were on board, and writing the book was a really interesting process, because I didn't know much about disability. I didn't know, I mean, it's not even the book. I didn't know about internalized ableism. I didn't know that I was kind of full of self-loathing. And it was just sort of, the process was me just kind of unpacking these old memories from my childhood that I had repressed, and things that, things that, the surgeries that I had growing up, and the things that strangers said to me, and all that stuff. So it was not fun, but, ultimately, it saved my life, because for the first time in my life, I wasn't lying about who I was. Either it was me being in the closet about being gay, or me being in the closet about my cerebral palsy. And finally, at the age of 28, I was just my authentic self, which I recommend 10 out of 10 for anyone.
Yeah, I definitely feel you on that. Being born with my disability, spina bifida, which sometimes people see kind of parallel a little bit with cerebral palsy, and the process that we go through with society, and feeling like we have to be these, I guess, some kind of super crip, or be more able, and so just to be accepted. And so there is this process you go through. So I'm glad you finally got to that point, and that being a process for you, and telling your story, because it has helped so many people. So you never know what that journey can do for yourself and for others.
Thank you.
So.
No, and adapting it for television was really interesting too, because I think that I had grown up a lot about my disability, and I'd kind of become woke to more things. And so I was really excited to kind of have that be reflected in the show, and, also create a TV character that we'd never seen before, and make sure that he wasn't just there serving as inspiration porn. It was very important to me that Ryan behaves like an asshole sometimes, because that's how people act. They're nice, they're not so nice, they're flawed, they contain layers. And I think that as disabled people, we're kind of supposed to be these virtuous, inspiring, how do we get up every day and just live our lives? It's so brave. And I think that's just so condescending and just not real. And I think that we are allowed to be as messy and complicated as, a straight white man on television is.
I love it. Okay. So Special broke new ground for LGBTQ plus and disability representation on scene. On screen, what scenes were you most proud of?
Oh, the sex scene for sure. I mean, gay sex, gay
I
sex
knew
is
you
always,
were going to say that.
well, gay sex has always been on my agenda, honey. You know, I'm gonna die on my anal sex hill. No, I mean, you know, I'd always been kind of annoyed by the representation of gay sex in film and television. I feel like when I had seen it, it was either like the really kind of like fast cut, porny vibes of Queer as Folk, or we were panning away to the moon in Call Me by Your Name. I think Call Me by Your Name honestly was the reason why I wrote the scene, because I saw the movie and I loved it and I think it's important, etc., etc., etc. But I remember when Armie Hammer and Timothy Chalamet finally consummate the relationship, the camera pans away and you're left with a fucking moon as they start fucking. And I was like, okay, so we've seen Timothy Chalamet fuck a peach, a fruit, okay? We've seen him fuck a woman, but we can't see him actually fuck a man. Like this whole movie is about homosexual desire, and you know we get kind of shortchanged. So I was really furious. I was like fuming in my movie theater seat, and so I really kind of wanted to correct that and kind of write a sex scene that felt honest and kind of how I had been experiencing sex, which is awkward, funny, emotional, sexy, like not so sexy, you know, all within the span of like 2 minutes. Because in my, I don't know, maybe I've been having sex wrong, but I think that's been my experience with sex, and so I just wanted to see that reflected.
That's awesome. I know I had a few conversations when the show first came out with different people kind of in my journey, and people had said that that was the one thing, like, and it was mostly from non-disabled people that were saying that. And they were like, it was a little, and I was just like, well, why? And I said, you know, you see non-disabled people have sex all the time.
Oh my
So why
god.
not? Why
Yeah,
not?
and that's
So
by the way, like you sit through it, bitch. I've had to sit through so much shit, and it's like now it's your fucking turn, and I don't care if you like it. I don't care. It's not for you. You know what I mean?
yes.
Like it's I don't make things for like I make gay things for gay people. I make disabled things for disabled people. Like I don't give a shit about anyone else. You know what I mean? And it's like if they feel uncomfortable by it, then like XOXO. Like I've had to sit through so much bullshit, you know. So like get the popcorn and deal. You know what I mean?
Yes. Like you said, it's our turn.
Exactly, babe. Jesus Christ.
So on Special, you can, and you touched on this a little bit, but on Special, you compared coming out as gay to coming out as disabled. Why do you think it was easy for you to do the first and harder for the second?
Because I honestly think that society treats gay people better than they treat disabled people. I think that there's been a much bigger discourse around sexuality than there is about disability. I still feel like that discourse has not lifted off the way that sexuality has. You know, we don't have Ellen, I'm gay on time. We don't have any fucking, where are our covers, babe? Where are our covers? You know what I mean? Like, it's just,
Yeah.
we haven't really, I think disability has not infiltrated the mainstream the way that being gay has. So to me, it was society understood what being gay was. There was reference points for it. There was Will and Grace. There was Ellen. There was this. There was that. And I think for disability, I think that the people still have a lack of awareness and just a baseline uncomfortableness in discussing disability. So, you know, the message was really clear to me growing up too, when I, you know, never saw disability being reflected back at me on the TV screen or movies. And so that kind of, you know, I got the message, which was that my existence didn't matter, or that my existence was too fringe or niche to include. And I think that really, really like set up house in my brain and like settled in for a long time, you know?
Yeah. No, that's interesting because I've kind of have those very same feelings, and we've talked about this before of not seeing yourself reflected and wanting that so badly, and how that reflects on you, and then wanting to tell those stories in that way, and be your authentic self, and how important that is. And what was I going to say? Lost my train of thought. But how important that story is, and telling that in that way, especially, you know, with me being a woman of color and wanting to tell my story, and then people telling me the same thing, like, well, your story is too niche. And
Right.
even when it comes to casting and things like that, it's like, you know, you end up with too many boxes against you. It's like, oh, you can check off one box, disabled, but then when you add in more, person of color or someone LGBTQ and all these different things. And it's just like, you end up with these things stacked against you. And it's like, we need to break all those things down.
Yeah, it's like, God forbid you possess, more than one identity. I mean, I think intersectionality is a relatively new concept that people are still taking in. I mean, Special took 4 years to get made door to door, because when we pitched it in 2015, everyone passed. And I think in 2015, like, we just weren't as woke in our culture. I mean, people were like scandalized by Inside Amy Schumer. You know what I mean? They were like, oh my God, she's like 140 pounds and she has sex and she tells it like it is. That's crazy. Women are funny, crazy. So I think being gay and disabled on the, Declaration of Woke Independence was like way down in like 2-point fonts. And I think that people didn't really know what to do with this gay disabled jelly. So it took a lot of time, but it's like, so part of it is like, you have to wait for the culture to catch up, but at the same time you also have to force it, because no one else is going to be out there advocating for your story. No one gives a shit. So it really is up to you to really force it through and be like, no, this is fucking happening.
Yes, I hear you. So how did you feel, with that being said, how did you feel when Special received a lot of great features and major press and was nominated for awards?
I mean, it was very chic. I mean, so there's two, if I'm being completely honest, there's two sides of me with the reception of Special. I thought there was going to be one way where it was going to be completely just like, here, no one would see it, it would get no coverage, blah, blah, blah. And then I think the cynical, jaded side of me was like, honestly, this is like a gay disabled show that has never been done before. Like, I feel like it is literally by law that you have to nominate us for some award. Like, literally, they're like, they don't even watch the show. They're just like, oh, gay disabled, sex scene with a sex worker. They're like, okay, just give it to him. Like, give it, just give it. we get it.
Oh my God.
So, I mean, I think that like, but like, the thing is like, I've always known that my life is not some fringe weird existence. I knew that there was going to be universalness in my storytelling. So like, I like, it was really validating to get the coverage. It wasn't validating just from like an ego perspective of like, I've done good. It was like, my life does have value, which is something I've always felt, even though society told me otherwise. I've always known, well, I haven't always known, but in the last few years, I had known that my life had value. And this just goes to show that. You know what I mean?
Yes, no, I hear you. I've always had that attitude of like, why do people think I'm weird? Why don't people like me? Or why don't people think I'm just amazing and fabulous? And it's like, you don't comprehend why. And it's like, oh, it's because of my disability. But it's like, no, you should love me and think that I'm amazing.
Yeah, it's, disability is so interesting. It's like, I think people are fearful. I have like theories about why I think people are fearful of it the way that they're not fearful of like sexuality, because I think that a lot of people are going to end up disabled, whether that's through old age or illness or something like that. And this is the culture that kind of, the whole bread and butter of our culture and the value is youth. It's youth, being strong, being sexy, whatever. And I think that it reminds them that they're fallible, that this won't last forever, that this could be them and probably will be them. And I think that it makes them very uncomfortable to be confronted with that reality. Again, that's just like a theory I have. I don't know if that's real or not, but there is something there, because there's been a lot of attention in marginalized populations in the last few years. And I really always feel like disability is the last one to get attention. And I think it is because people are a little fearful and they don't want to deal with it. It makes them sad. It makes them not cozy, comfy, chic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like they almost think about their immortality opposed to thinking it as something vibrant and lively and that can contribute to all aspects of society. And one of the things that I was thinking about is, I always say, is like, include disability in all the forms of diversity that you think about. And it's like, when you think about LGBTQ and people of color, it's like, don't forget about disability. And it's like, we're constantly having to remind people, but it definitely is getting better. And I contribute that. Go ahead. I can.
It's so weird, because I think percentage wise, we account for so much of the population. So
yeah, 20%.
Yeah, so it's not even like we're like, you know, that's the part that I truly don't understand. And also from a business perspective, it's like you have a quarter of the population that has nothing for them. So from a business standpoint, it would serve you to make money. I mean, I think about like if I go to a movie, if I get the like faintest whiff of gay in a movie, I will be there opening night with fucking popcorn because I'm like desperado for gay content, and like I will eat up all the scraps, honey, because I'm fucking starving. So like I just don't understand. I'm like, hun, like there's nothing. There's a huge gap, and that like why does no one think to fill it? But I think because disabled people have historically not had access to like the gatekeepers of Hollywood, and they've never been in these positions before where they've been pitching their own stuff or whatever. Like we've been exiled a little bit. We've been pushed out, and people don't expect us to be in those positions. It's like Ali Stroker winning the fucking Tony and then needing to go from the back because there's no fucking ramp, because no one could conceive of someone in a wheelchair winning a Tony. But guess what, bitch? We are winning fucking Tonys, and get the goddamn ramp ready. You know what I mean? But it's like, but I think, and again, I don't think it's like out of malice. I don't think there's like evil people around a courtroom being like, we must keep the disabled people out. Like, please, like Dr. Evil status. I think it's just because I don't think people have ever thought of us before. I don't think it's really crossed their mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So what do you think needs to be done to ensure that people who are LGBTQ plus with disabilities feel part of both communities?
Of the LGBT community and the gay community?
And disability. What do you think needs to be done for them to feel a part of both?
Well, I mean, I think it's just the golden rule is just don't be an asshole. I mean, I think that obviously the disabled community, in my experience, has been much more welcoming than the gay community. I think, but I also think about even like the base experiences of like going to a gay bar. Guess what? Not a lot of those places are handicap friendly. So like queer spaces are not, so again, disabled people are shut out again. And again, you know, again, it's not Dr. Evil around a boardroom being like, I don't want disabled people in the gay bar, but it's like, you think about that is a huge part of gay culture is fraternizing at the gay bar. And gay people, disabled people can't even become a part of it. And when they're not a part of it, their existence is not normalized. So they stay fringe, you know what I mean? So I think really the onus is not on the disabled community, because I think we're pretty accepting and like down for whatever. I think it's like the LGBT community that needs to think about queer spaces and really making sure that they are handicap friendly, so disabled people can like live, laugh, love with their gays. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So the juicy question: what can we expect for season 2 of Special?
Oh my God.
Whatever you can tell us, because I know right before everything happened, you were in production. So
we shot half the season, so we shot 4 out of 8 episodes. It's so weird because I'm just like, when will we ever be allowed to be on set again? I mean, sets are like day spots for germs, and so when you think about like life reopening, you're like, oh, I can see restaurants being open again if it's not at capacity and such. But like being on a set, oh my God. Special season 2, based on the episodes that I've seen, I've been in editing and stuff, and definitely feels bigger. I think that season 1 was small, mostly out of necessity, and it was also a shorter show, and the budget was smaller. So like, I feel like Ryan was kind in a fishbowl, and I feel like you didn't really go out into the world that much, which I think actually served where the character was, because he was kind of the boy in the bubble. And then season 2, I think the bubble pops, and you see Ryan really kind of embarking on his own journey, and you get to see a lot more of Kim. Kim has her own storyline this season. That was really important to me. I think writing season 1, when I found Poonam Patel, who plays Kim, I was like, this woman is a fucking star. And
she's awesome.
I cannot just make her like my cheerleader. Like, I want her to have her own interior life. I want her to have depth the way that I've given it to Karen. So in season 2, we see a lot more of Kim on her journey outside of Ryan. There's a lot more sex, and there is more stuff regarding disability. Ryan in season 1 was still suffering from internalized ableism, and I don't think really wanted to be a part of the disabled community in any way, judging by his disastrous death date. And I think in season 2, he's gonna dip his toes in the waters, and it's gonna be fun.
Awesome.
I mean, we should do it in 2025.
Hopefully it's not that long,
No,
but
I
we'll
know,
see.
I know, but I'm just gonna like, I'm gonna show up to the back half of the season like 20 years older, like dark circles under my eyes, like just, full bear. I left a cub at the end of 4. I'm a full bear at the beginning of episode 5. Yeah, I just cannot wait for the continuity problems.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. You guys will work it out. You'll work it out.
Yeah, no.
I'm super excited. And I love that you told her story because I feel like from the show, I was fully fed because I understood disability from your angle, but then being a plus size woman and seeing her story and dealing with her insecurities of being a plus size woman, I really appreciated that. So I feel like from both storylines, I personally was very much fed. So
Oh, thank you. Well,
that's awesome.
You're going to be very, very full next season. And I think it's so interesting writing a show with a gay disabled lead and a plus size woman of color because there is so many similarities. Because I think that Kim and Ryan both, their first thought is, how do I move through a society that doesn't inherently accept me? Well, I'm going to be super palatable. I'm going to be easy to digest. I'm going to wear chic clothes. I'm going to go to dry bar every fucking day. Like, I'm going to be so chic that you can't reject me. I'm going to fit into your mold as much as I can. So don't worry about it. Like, I'm not going to be an imposition into your life. I'm not going to.
Story of my life.
Yeah, but really though, and I think about that a lot because like I like love clothes and I like love like looking good or whatever. Like, but I'm like, part of me is like, I wonder like where that comes from. Like, is that a real desire, or is like part of me like, oh, I'm gay and I have cerebral palsy, but I'm wearing like APC jeans and like Marc Jacobs and like, don't worry about it. Like, it's just fitting into society. And so I'm just like the like fun flirty Christine of cerebral palsy. And I don't know, it's interesting. Well, I guess I'll unpack that later.
Right? No, because I have that internal conversation with myself too. And I'm like, well, why am I doing this? Why am I having the latest shoes? Or why am I wearing this certain outfit? Is it because I really do like fashion? Or is it because I want to be liked because I'm tired of people just wanting to just stare at me for whatever reason? And I do love that quote from Harry Winston. He said, people are going to stare, make it worth their while. And it's like, it's a quote I use so much. And it's like, is that internalized ableism or is it just me expressing me? So those are internal conversations I have with myself too.
That's so interesting. I never heard that quote, but there's actually a character, a new character in season 2 says that to Ryan, who has a disability, and he's just like, and he wears whatever he wants. I mean, I don't want to spoil too much, but like, he's a person who like lives out loud, and he's like, look, people stare at me no matter what when I get like leave the house, so like I better give them something to look at. Oh my god, I love that I just plagiarized unknowingly Harry Winston, Addicted.
Well, now you know, yeah. So
my ass.
Speaking of staying in and all of that, so what are you doing to stay creative in the time of social distancing?
It's been interesting because the first couple of weeks were really hard. I mean, the first couple of weeks, we've talked about this before, but like, I'm a very, very productive person. Like, I work a lot. I'm a workhorse and I get a lot done. And a lot of my self-worth, I think, is tied into productivity. So even when I'm doing nothing or I feel lazy, I still have 40 things going on instead of like 500, but I still feel like a failure. So for example, like literally like the first 2 weeks of quarantine, just shut down my show where I was working 16 hours a day for like a month. And then before that, running the writer's room. So like, obviously I'm tired and like whatever, and I'm in editing on special every day, but I still am like, I'm not doing anything. I feel like a loser. I feel like a failure. But what's interesting about it, beyond unpacking the whole being disabled and needing to be Superman, needing to be bigger, faster, stronger, I think as a writer and as a creative person, like the way I make sense of the world and the area where I feel safest is when I'm making things. So after a couple of weeks of me feeling unproductive and not really having any ideas, I kind of landed on a new idea and I got really excited. So I've been really working on that, fleshing out like a series Bible and stuff. And, I think overall though, I've just learned to be really kind to myself and like know that some days are going to be more productive than others. And, I joked earlier on about like how every day is a winding road by Sheryl Crow. And like some days I feel really good and hopeful and excited. And then other days I feel extremely depressed and anxious and kind of like, what is the point of the work that I'm doing right now? And I think what I've gotten good at because I've accepted that this is a roller coaster that I just can't get off of, and I think everyone's in the same boat. But what I've accepted is like that I just have to be kind to myself, and like those days that I just feel really depressed, like I don't always have to like push myself out of it and like come on, like I just have to kind of surrender to the moods and know that it will lift, because it always does. And I just really can't judge myself too much in the moment, because that doesn't get me anywhere. That just creates a toxic feedback loop. So, you know, I think I'm doing a pretty good job now, but like I said, like not every day is created equal. So I just have had to learn to kind of ride the waves.
Yeah, no, self-care is definitely important. And don't beat yourself up. Have those days where you're just enjoying your wine and hanging out. I've been seeing you on your Insta.
Oh my God, LOL. I'm like I'm keeping my wine shop in business, I think single-handedly. Oh my God. It's like, you know what? But also like, I don't care. Like at first I was like, God, I'm drinking a lot of wine. I'm like, you know what? I don't give a shit.
Care.
I don't fucking care. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it makes me feel good. It helps me unwind after a long day of being anxious or whatever. Like, fuck it. I don't care. It's not like I'm getting blackout or anything. Like, I'm fine.
Yeah. So no, take that time to self-care and unwind and get yourself, because you said it here, you got some other stuff you're going to be working on. So after this is all over, you guys heard it first, you're going to get a lot of stuff from Ryan. So we're holding you to it.
Oh, that's good. I love that. I love that. No, I mean, it's, you know, look, I love making things. I love getting lost in new worlds. I think especially now when the world that we're living in is such a hellscape, I think it's really nice to kind of build your own world and spend time in that world so you can avoid this one.
Yeah, definitely. Especially with everything going on, you want a way to be creative and kind of just do something else to take your mind off of it a little bit. So if you guys are out there and you're watching the news and stuff, take some time to turn it off and find a way to be creative. So with that, I'll have my last question, and then we're going to open it up for Q&A. So if you guys have any questions in the chat box in a Q&A, put your questions out and we will get them answered. So last question, what advice do you have for other creatives from marginalized communities when they want to pitch their own work?
I would say walk into every pitch with the confidence of a straight, white, mediocre man. assume you're Kevin James, you know what I mean? Because your voice is needed so much more than Kevin James. I think we're pretty much done. I think we've reached that capacity. Your voice has value. I think that's the hardest part I have learned in making things and working on things and pitching things is being like, what's the point? Does this even matter? Is what I'm saying even like worth anything? And I'm here to tell you that it is. I think the thing that I get most excited about as a writer is removing stigma and talking about things that have never been discussed on TV before. And I think hopefully by the example of specials showing that like there is space for us, there is room at the table, and Hollywood is ready to listen. And it really is up to you, which is no easy feat, I understand because I struggle with it too, to really have confidence and kind of be the girl with the most cake and be like, no, like this idea that I'm working on has value, I have value, and not only do I have value, but the story that I want to tell, particularly if it pertains to disability, is so fucking needed. I want more disabled content. I don't think it's right that Special is one of the only shows tackling disability. It's like, it's us, and I think it's this close on Sundance Now, and I think that's pretty much it in terms of disabled leads and being written and created by the people. And so just really, really don't lose sight of that and know that your stories, again, are more important and more valuable than all the other ones that have been told 5,000 fucking times.
Yes. So we have our first question. It's from Rachel. Hey, Rachel. She said, how far should you push the envelope for disability inclusion?
Well, what does that mean? Like how far should you push the envelope for inclusion? What does that mean? Am I being stupid?
I don't know if she means as far as the representation of it or how many characters. I'm not sure. So well, Rachel, get back.
I don't like to push the envelope. I like to come all over it. So it's like,
yeah.
I think
so it's like,
I think that in terms of being ballsy and daring, I mean, there is no bounds. I don't know. I don't know. I just think, again, like you should always be speaking the truth and being as brutally honest as you can be. Otherwise, what's the point?
Yes. So April says, do you see yourself doing more shows after Special on platforms other than Netflix? What would be another dream show you would want to do?
I would love to continue working with Netflix just because they've been so supportive and amazing and loving, and they kind of let me do my thing and kind of just, which is really rare. I think that usually when you have a show on the air, you have 40,000 cooks in the kitchen, and I think that they've been really supportive about my vision. But also, like, I love to slut it up and sleep around, so I'm also open to like working with other platforms as well. I really want to make a show with like a primarily disabled cast. I think that would be amazing, sort of how like Pose broke history with having a lot of trans actors. That would be really incredible to see that with disabled performers, because I know there is a giant well of talent, but and the excitement of making all those discoveries is so cool to me. So yeah, that's kind of what I want to do next, I think.
Nice, nice. I like that. That would be something super dope. I've had visions for different things. I'm like, yeah, we definitely need something like that where it's just disabled AF.
Totally, absolutely. And because like as disabled as Special is, and like especially season 2, it gets a lot more in terms of working with other disabled people and whatnot. It still is a show with a lot of able-bodied people, and I don't know. There's just so much. Like there's so much more to explore that I can't do within the confines of Special. So.
Okay. So Andy says, hey, Andy, what was the biggest challenge that you hit with studios and how did you get over it?
Well, initially when we pitched it, it wasn't with studios. I was with Warner Brothers and they were down for my gay disabled agenda. It was networks. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, times have changed. I think even before my book was optioned, I would go to like general meetings and with production companies and studio people and talk about putting a gay disabled person on the screen, and they were like would legitimately be confused and be like, I don't understand. And this was like 2014, and so I personally have been in my own like utopian Special bubble where I have not, and also I think my voice is so specific, quite frankly, that like either you get it or you don't. So it's like, I feel like the people that I've worked with, I've been really lucky. Do they just understand what I want to do, and they're not trying to neuter it? Like they're not trying to chop the balls off. They understand that I have big, huge balls and want to celebrate and showcase them. And so I've been really, really lucky. But I think overall though, I think there's this perception of Hollywood being so woke and inclusive. And I think that if you get really down to the nitty gritty, it's still really hard to get a show made that with a marginalized person as the lead. I think that we are totally allowed to be there as supporting and be the friend and, have our own little storyline, whatever. But I think it's really, really difficult to still have us as the lead. I mean, think about Orange is the New Black. Orange is the New Black had to use that girl, Taylor Schilling, as sort of the Trojan horse. It was like, oh, this is a story about a white woman who goes to prison. Just kidding. No, it's not. It's all about the other inmates. And I think you still have to kind of do that. You have to like cover the vegetables and sugar. And, but I don't know. I mean, I'm going to probably be going out there again and testing the waters. So we'll see. But I imagine it's still kind of an uphill battle.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there because I still have a goal of being a lead on a show. So
yes, honey.
Fingers crossed for that.
Yeah.
So David, hey, everybody's in here. What do you think Special would look like and feel like if it was on network TV?
Oh my God, it would be garbage. It would be absolute trash. And it's actually funny. Oh my God, this is David Radcliffe, my queen. I love, or my queen. Sorry, I default to queen always. Oh my God, my gay adult brain, such a disease. I actually, when my book had like a bidding war on it, LOL, highlight of my career, hasn't been that way since. And we had a couple studios bidding, and I told my agent, and at the time I was a young writer. I'd only staffed on one show, and it was my second season, and I was like, well, I'm not going to network TV with this. And my agents were like, what? Like, because they see network TV and they see a down payment for a house in Malibu. So obviously they're incentivized to do that. And I was like, no, like if I do a show about a gay disabled person, I can't remove the sexuality. Like I want to be able to do what I want to do, and you can't do that with like a network television framework. You just can't. I mean, are you kidding me? It's like, have you seen a network TV show lately? They're absolute trash. It's like a dumpster fire. So like they were like shook. They like, my agents like could not believe that this like little story editor was like, no, I'm not going to fucking networks. And I remember like one studio even backed out because I refused to go to networks. And so yeah, it was something, it was so funny because I was so passive back then because I was so grateful for anything, and just like, gee, well, gosh, I can't believe I'm here, mom and dad. But I remember like even like, and I'm not necessarily as honest and brash I can be, I'm also like a people pleaser. So like I kind of want to make everyone around me happy. Again, disability shit, blah, blah, blah. But so even back then though, I think like I still had that voice in me enough that was like, if you could take this to network TV, they will probably buy it because it's chic. They'll like be like, gay disabled love. And then like, I'll write the script and they'll be like, wait, what is this? Like he's gay and disabled? Can't he be one or the other? And then they'll kill it. You know what I mean? Like I knew, so yeah, so basically, yeah, special on network TV would just be like literally like Ryan having very special episodes, Ryan like, and then people comforting him when he's alone in his bed and asking if he needs a snack, and maybe, just maybe in the finale he'd be able to kiss a man, but who knows?
Yeah, I was like, you definitely wouldn't have been able to have the sex scene. So
No, God no, which was again the scene that is the most important to me, and I think the one that got the most attention. So fuck
yeah.
it. Stick to your
So
gun.
Ashley says, love the panel. Thanks so much. She said, Ryan, I'd love to know how the process of getting Netflix to sign on for season 2 went.
It's a journey. I mean, like they take a while because they have to get their data for the numbers and stuff like that. So you know, I think it's different for everybody. I think some people they find out within like a month or two, but ours was a little longer, not because they were on the fence about picking it up, but because there were going to be some changes in season 2. I can't reveal, but like basically it just kind of made it a different deal and a different show. So it just took a lot longer to get done, but they were always really supportive. I never felt like it wasn't going to get picked up. I just knew that it was going to be a process just because things were going to be different. Sorry to be so vague.
No, it's like, have that confidence. Is like, my show is the bomb. I know they're going to give me a season 2.
Well, you know how I said you can't, you have to give the gay disabled show an award. I feel like you can't cancel the gay disabled show after 1 season. After season 2, yes, absolutely, but not after season 1.
No, hopefully we get a few more seasons. So
yeah, hopefully.
Ryan has a story he has to tell.
Yeah, exactly.
So then another one is, was it difficult, speaking of, was it difficult to make yourself so naked to the world, and how did putting yourself out there change your daily life?
No, I mean, I've always been a really honest person. I think in my, like, it's so funny because I made a career from writing, doing these like blog posts for this website called Thought Catalog, where I was just kind of bearing my soul and blah, blah, blah. But it was just ironic though, because the one thing that was such a huge slice of my identity, cerebral palsy, was the one thing I would not talk about. I feel like I was raised in a family where people were kind of repressed, or you didn't talk about a lot of things, like things were swept under the rug. And I kind of saw how that sort of eroded your soul. And I think kind of at a young age, I was like, oh, I don't want to ever be like that. Like if something is wrong or something is amiss, I need to get it out there. You know, again, stigma like survives and thrives in silence. It's like that Jenny Holzer quote, your silence will not protect you. So it's been a compulsion that I think I've had for a long time to just be brutally honest. And I think in terms of like being naked emotionally and physically and special, it was really terrifying to me. But when something scares me, that means I know I need to do it. Like it's almost like, you know, bungee jumping, which I would never do, but like, it's just, I don't know, I guess a part of me kind of gets off on the fear of it and being like, and also like, I feel like in terms of my body, like I know it's like a body like mine has not been normalized on TV. And I think this might sound like a little pretend, so forgive, but like I think that when it comes to my show, in terms of bearing skin and doing the sex scenes and stuff, I feel like my body doesn't belong to me anymore. It's serving a much bigger purpose, which is normalizing bodies that are not conventional.
Mm-hmm.
It's really not about me. You know what I mean? It's sort of like whatever. I don't know. And then what was the other question? There was a two-parter. I forget the other half.
I think you answered it. They said that, oh, what made you, be more comfortable in your body in your everyday life? Or how has it changed your everyday life? That's
Oh
what it
my
was.
God. So interesting. Well, uh, I went from someone who never talked about having cerebral palsy to the whole world knowing about my cerebral palsy and talking about it on a huge platform. So it was a huge transition. And part of me has anxiety because I feel like I don't know as much as other people know about disability, and I'm not well versed in disability rights, and maybe I'm not I would never identify as an activist. I just wouldn't. I think that label makes me uncomfortable because I feel like I could never live up to that. But I would say it's been extremely freeing. I remember I went to Provincetown last summer, which is a place I go on vacation every summer with my gay friends, and we were going to this like secluded beach, which was like everyone was like yes, and like my CP ass was like okay, a 45-minute walk through like weird terrain and like bushes. Like it's so funny, like the math like the math that you do in your brain as a disabled person. You're like, yeah, this like sounds fun for you, but like I know my ass is gonna be sweating, my feet will be burning, I will be like very tired, my legs will get tight. Like, God damn it. Anyway, so we went to this beach, which was gorgeous, and but it was a schlep, and like truly, like I was for this one in wild, whatever. And then when we walked back, we had to climb through something. I can't even think of descriptive words right now, but it involved some baseline climbing, and I kept slipping. And people, like other people from the beach would pass me, and they'd see me struggling, and they'd help me. And in the past, that would make me feel so ashamed. I would feel like shit. I'd be like, oh my God, everyone's seeing me fail to go up this fucking rock. I'm such a loser. Oh my God, why am I at this gay beach when I can't even fucking go up the goddamn whatever? And I, for the first time, just didn't give a shit. I really didn't. Because guess what? When I was failing to go up on that rock, there were people being like, I love your show. Meanwhile, I'm like truly like a hot mess express, like fucking sweat, like falling, skinned knees, like garbage town USA. And people are like, yes, we love you, queen, like go. And I think having that support and that unconditional love from from the fans of the show, I just didn't care. I was like, yeah, I'm struggling to go up this rock because I'm disabled, which everyone fucking knows. So who cares? So it's been really freeing in that way.
Awesome. So we have a question from Facebook. Carlos Mitchell, he says, I'm a gay Latino with a physical disability. Many of us are on low income. Do you have any plans to include LGBTQ with disabilities who are low income and who are dependent on government for basic needs?
Does that mean, in the show?
Or in anything, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, in the show, I'm trying to think. There hasn't been, but I would love to in future projects. Absolutely. I mean, there's so that yeah, absolutely.
No, that's a really good question because I think about that too, because, some of us work and some of us don't have to be on government assistance. And it's like, we have to justify all those stories. It's like, you can't tell the chic one and not the gritty one.
Yes.
So Jamie says, what advice do you have for aspiring actors who have CP?
Oh my God. Acting is so funny because acting is one thing I'd be like, to anyone inspiring actors with disabilities or not, I'm like, how old are you? I'm like, if you're under the age of 25, don't do it. Just because I've been around enough actors, and it's like, if you start too young, it gets a little weird for your brain. I would say, if you like, I think for actors, this is probably bad advice, because to me, if you are someone who doesn't fit the traditional box of actors, it would serve you to make your own things, because people have no imagination and they don't know where to put you. So it's your job to tell them, no, this is what I can do. You know what I mean? However, if you're not a writer and you're just an actor, you know, I would just audition, and if you had an agent, I would say, don't just send me out for disabled roles. Like, I want to go out for every fucking role that I can. Because that's another important thing too, is like, I would love a disabled person to be on screen where their whole preoccupation isn't being disabled. Like, that would be what a rush. You know what I mean? Um,
Yes.
so yeah, I would just keep up with it. I never thought that I would be acting in my own show, and here I am. So it is possible, and I think it's showing other people that disabled people are so fucking talented and can do all kinds of things. So yeah, just keep going.
Awesome. And just to add to that, I would say if you haven't acted before, start out with being an extra, get some experience of being on set and getting all of that experience. So you kind of have that under your belt. And that's just something that every actor goes through, whether you have a disability or not. And just keep pushing the pavement, find opportunities. And back to your point of making your own content, make your own content, because my very first commercial I got was based off of them seeing my Instagram. And just like you said, you know, you have to give them that vision, otherwise they're not going to get it. And then, you know, people seeing your Instagram and are like, oh, she looks cool and fun. Let's use that, opposed to before, if you just say, oh, I'm in a wheelchair, they're gonna be like, well, that's not fun. So you kind of have to show them, and if they're not thinking about it. But I will say they're starting to think about it a little bit more, but you made a really, really great point.
Yeah, you have
So
to hustle for yourself, because like, I will say, like, it's not a by and large, but I would say in my experience, Hollywood suffers from severe lack of imagination. Like, they just don't, and again, it's not that they don't want it, they just don't think about it or think about it as being possible. Like, they just don't get it. So it's your job to show them that. You know what I mean?
yes. I agree. So Marissa says, do you have you ever, or do you plan on hiring people with disabilities to work behind the camera, specifically like PAs, directors, things like that?
Yeah, we were getting we have some of that for season 2. Yes, but I will say, and I'm very vocal about this, making special, it's made everyone aware from the crew and everyone how things are not accessible. Like, we're a show that shoots on location because we don't have the money to build sets. So we are in homes a lot of the times, like that are not handicap friendly. You know, we were talking about this before this, but how I discovered that a lot of hair and makeup trailers are not handicap accessible. And so I think it's very frustrating, because I think that there should be more disabled crew members, and there are a few for season 2, but in terms of accessibility, Hollywood still has a long way to go, and it's really frustrating for me, because I want to do so much. I feel like I want to do everything, and there's still the system of, there's no, like, and I feel like I'm constantly going up against the system that's already been in place of like, oh, like, we've never needed handicap accessible trailers. Like, we don't, what? Like, there's going to be someone in a wheelchair that's getting their hair and makeup done. Like, we're just not familiar with that. You know what I mean? And it's like, and it makes my blood boil, because you're like, how has this gone on for so long? And I think, like, I wish I had like Ryan Murphy money, quite frankly. So like, I could literally just be like, and you get a trailer, and you get a trailer, like Oprah style. Like, but it's been hard. That's been something I've really struggled with, where it's like, I want to do all these changes, and I want to have this like perfect utopian vision of what I want the show to be, and like in terms of inclusion of disabilities, but I'm also within my own limitations and with my own budget. You know what I mean? It's been hard. It's been hard.
Yeah, I feel you. I have no doubt that you're gonna make it happen. So,
Yeah.
um, okay. So another question. Rachel says, "Did you choose to do a short form series for creative reasons, or was it a studio choice?"
It was a studio choice, because everyone passed when we took it out as a half hour, and then Stage 13, God bless their heart, they're this digital incubator within Warner Brothers, and they were doing short form content. So they were the ones that took the chance on the show and said, let's do 15-minute episodes. And I, at that point, would have done like a minute. I would have like, I didn't give a shit. I was like, honey, where do I sign? So no, it was not my choice, but I think ultimately it was actually really good, because it's like writing boot camp. You basically have to fit half hour of content in 15 minutes. So every line that you do, every line that you write, every character action, it's so lean. It has to serve its purpose. It can't, you know what I mean? You don't have time to just like dilly-dally. So I think it was really incredible from like a storytelling perspective. It really whipped me into shape. And I'm really proud of how much story we were able to tell in such a short amount of time. I also think that it was advantageous in the sense that like I think the TV landscape is so oversaturated right now. So I think like whenever a new show comes out, people are like, oh God, when am I gonna have the 10 hours to binge the show? And I think Special was very accessible in the sense that like it was like, oh, you can watch all this in 2 hours, you have no excuses. So in the end, I am grateful for short form, and I think it actually helped the show break through. On the other, I would not do it again. No.
So did you have to stick to what you had, or could you add more time for the second season, or was that an issue?
I don't know. We'll see.
Okay, you guys hear that? So we may be getting a little bit more special when it comes back. So we're at the end of this. I want to say thank you so much. Anything you want to say, how people can get in touch with you, follow you, keep up with what you're up to?
I don't know why anyone would want to do that. My content lately is unhinged, but if you feel so inclined, you can follow me on Instagram, Ryan Oconn, OCONN, and then on Twitter, it's the same handle. You're going to see me really becoming unglued in real time, which may be fun for you.
Yes, no, it's very entertaining. Every time I'm having one of those kind of days, I see your Insta story and I laugh and just love it because I'm just like, you're just yourself, and it's so much needed more than ever.
Thank you. I really do it. Like, it makes me feel really good to hear that. I also do it for myself. Like, I think if I have like a bad day, I'm like, okay, what will make me, like, what I need to get myself out of this rut. Like, what can I do that's pretty much like no muss, no fuss, but like will make me happy. And I think, and also I have this like bizarre fear that my brain is atrophying in quarantine. And I think it's also me just doing a brain check. Like, am I still funny? Can I come up with jokes like on the fly? Some people do puzzles, but that's ableist because I can't fucking get those puzzle pieces in. No one talks about puzzles and how ableist they are, but they are. So whenever people do their puzzles to keep their brain active, I'm like, must be fucking nice. Same with people putting on gloves. I'm like, must be nice to have working hands. So my puzzle is doing an AMA.
Thank you. Well, we will be doing weekly sessions like this. Check out and see who will be tuning in next week. So come back. We're going to have more conversations like this. Thank you, Ryan, so much. This was so fun. This was so cool. Make sure you follow Respectability on our Twitter and like us on Facebook so that you can stay up to date to more events like these and more awesome conversations that we will be having. And don't forget, if you want to participate in our lab, there's still time. You have until Friday. If you don't have all your materials together, that's okay. Just send us a note and let us know. And thank you again so much. I appreciate it. I really enjoyed this conversation. It was great. I think everyone else got a lot out of it. And make sure you're following Ryan, and make sure if you haven't watched season 1, watch it, a special. And then I can't wait for season 2.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, honey.
Thank you so much. This was awesome.
Thank you. Talk to you later.
All right.
Bye.